There is a very interesting figure that has entered the podcast of Chris Network by the name of Pastor Motwa, and he was talking about what he termed evil Bibles that are meant to deceive Christians and so forth. That was the subject that he was talking about. But I want to bring context here. I'm going to bring a Bible translator, a scholar, who's going to come and explain the decisions they have to make. And interesting enough, you will find he was one of the contributors for the NET Bible, which I actually found very interesting here, is that he was actually, Pastor Moto was actually commenting on this because Chris and the guys recently, let's see if I can trace, Chris and the guys here, they recently got Bibles, and I found it quite interesting. James got an NET. So shout out to James. Shout out to James. Alongside the time when James had bought this, I was looking for this here. And there was an Amazon special, and finally I made the thingy. The only difference between James one and mine one is that James one, it's just a normal NET Bible. This one is, they call it a full notes Bible. I'll tell you the difference between this one. This one, you get to see the decisions that the translators were making. And I'll show you that in a second. You can actually go and look at it online for free. Okay. So let's go in and listen to what Pastor Motwa was saying concerning this particular subject. He is a pastor. You can see he pastors a church and so forth. And so let's hear what he was saying. And also, just as a sidebar, I also want to show you a gentleman who is a Bible scholar reading Greek. And that's why you see the difficulty in translation. Okay? It's going to be a good one. Give me a second. Let me unfold everything that I want to show you, and let's have that conversation. It's the Textuality show.
Lang, chapter 3, the book of Timothy. Ngibonile ukuthi nithenga
namabhayibheli amasha
uniphathele amabhayibheli
waze benitshontsho James abathi James
kodwa ke ngithe ngiyawacheka
James, where's my Bible? yeah I want to pray for you.
ngithe ngiyawacheka elingcono likhona elingcono kodwa lamanye ngathi out of order kusuka amabhayibheli right engawafunda amabhayibheli are wrong la awaphethe ngimtshelile ubaba ucabala futhi lamabhayibheli awekho kahle awamile kahle ngamabhayibheli engathi wabiza ukuthi ngamabhayibheli abhalwe to deceive many people.
Hayibo.
Yeah, deception la amanye kuzodinga ukuthi nizame ukwatshintsha ngizwile ubaba ucaba uthena sleep sakhe sesekhona kumele awushintshe. The best Bible this time King James engcono ukuthi abantwana bayimabethenga iBhayibheli abathenga kakhulu
sizothatha from iBhayibheli.
So ngithena ngiyafunda nje ngabona kunamavesi nyane engiwafundile few ngabona ukuthi akusil iBhayibheli right leli nilifundayo la niphathele wona kodwa eli one ngathi right I think elika James ngathi lingcono James ngiyacabanga.
So he says, yeah, no, there are other better Bibles that you could read. These are the ones, they are out of order.
This time King James engcono ukuthi abantwana bayimabethenga iBhayibheli abathenga kakhulu
sizothatha from iBhayibheli.
So ngithena ngiyafunda nje ngabona kunamavesi nyane engiwafundile few ngabona ukuthi akusil iBhayibheli right leli nilifundayo.
So the best Bible to read is a King James Bible. So I love the King James when I'm doing live streams or when I'm generally my primary Bible is a King James. But I have a secondary companion Bible. Now, the King James, I love the heritage of the King James. And where do we get this idea? I want to show you something. If you go to this website called Interlinear Bible, right? What they show you is this idea here. There are Bibles that are word for word. There are Bibles that are thought for thought, meaning they might not carry the whole thing, but they carry the thought in a sense. Then there are paraphrases. This is where it gets crazy. Paraphrases are terrible Bibles. Most of them, I wouldn't recommend them with a 20-foot pole. So the New King James, King James Bible, ESV, those are word for word. So they're trying to get from each and every single word. Now you may say, how do they even do that? Now, if you go here, I want to just show you a little bit of something here. If you pull up this, you can see how they do it. These here are Greek Strongs. These are Greek Strongs. So you like see these numbers that you see here. It's pretty much doing the same thing as what you would be doing when you came here. This is called a Strong's Bible Concordance. So it gives you every single word that appears in the Bible, and it gives you a dictionary. So you can go back and read all the contextual verses that particular word appears in, and try and get what was the verse saying and what is the context. Now, when he says there are Bibles that are meant to deceive, there are Bibles that are badly translated. Deceive, I don't know about that. I can show you one Bible that is actually meant to deceive. That one we know for a fact. That one we know for a fact. For example, the NLT Bible by the Jehovah's Witness. Look at what it says. It says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was towards God, and God was the Word. Now you will notice the word God here, Theos, there it is, right there, is no different to this one, Theos. So how did they determine that it is a small letter? It's because of what they believe. The Jehovah's Witness Church believes that Jesus is not God. He's just the Son. And so they are no different to Muslims at that point. So they made that up. They made that idea up. Another area where you can actually test this idea. So Jehovah's Witness cult. Okay. Something's wrong with those people. They need to really reconcile themselves with what it says. First Timothy chapter number 3, verse number 16. The verse says, without controversy, great, in the King James. Great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifest in the flesh. Listen to what the word says. God was manifest in the word, in the flesh. So biblically, this goes with John chapter number 1, that in the beginning was the word was with God, the word was God. So the others, they take that idea or the theology behind the idea that God was manifest in the flesh, and they turn it to this. He was manifest. So they are no longer reflecting how it appears. Actually, if you go to the Greek, guess what? The word that it uses is it's theos. And if you click on this, right here, the translation will come up. Right here, theos. And theos is what? It's God. So now, of course, now this brings us up into the whole translators, whole thing. If you go to the translators of the NET, by the way, you can find this Bible online. I bought the hard copy because sometimes my eyes get strained, so I can't sit forever on the screen. If you go online and you listen to what is it that translators were looking for, same Bible that James has, but this one is just the full notes version. You will realize, so there it is, First Timothy chapter number 3. On that verse, you will notice that they use the word he was manifest. So why did they use that? So in the NET, because they tell you what the translators were dealing with in the text, okay? Which is what we should educate Christians concerning. Instead of just turning them away, educate them so that they can understand how. They used he. So if you click here, it will take you to this right here. On there's no clicking button on the hard copy. But then you will see here, it says translator's notes. Okay. So he was manifest in the flesh. So we come down here, right here, textual critic thingy on the notes. Let's scroll there. So they are talking, look at the notes behind why they chose to use that particular word. They give a lecture. Okay. They give a lecture of a scholarly debate on a word that appears in certain manuscripts between the early 200 ADs. Okay. The 2nd century, basically. And you can see it right here. They talk about, there might have been this idea that confused one, which actually says who. So this particular one right here actually translates to who. And so the debate is that the word might have not been meant to be this, because you can see how closely related. So that's why they choose to use the word he was manifest. And so now remember, we don't have to agree with them, because theologically it is affirmed he was manifest in the flesh. It's Jesus. So now you start to realize there is more to a translation. Pulled up a man here who's a scholar. I'll leave his channel down below. You can see his channel name right here, Daily Dose of Greek. Listen to how he reads, and look at what he starts pointing out when he's reading Revelation 22 here.
Exousia auton, epitaxulon tes zoes, kai tois pulosen, eis elthosen, eis tein palin. Here we have one of the 7 Macarisms, or blessings, found in the book of Revelation. No accident that there are 7 of those in Revelation. And this one reads, blessed, and the implied verb are, will be, or something like that, some form of ame. Blessed are those who wash, that's from the verb pluno, to wash. Blessed are those who wash their garments, right? And of course, wash their garments in the blood of the Lamb. They wear white garments, showing their forgiveness and their purity, because the Lord Jesus Christ has died for them, right? It's interesting, the King James Version here, based on the Byzantine text, says, blessed are those who do his commandments, of course.
Now, you will note, it doesn't change what it's trying to say. Blessed are they that wash their garment is that there is a diligence to follow through. There is a discipleship out of them. So blessed are they that wash their garments, and blessed are they who keep the commandments. It's the same. It comes to the same. Yes, you can say, but to say the commandments, it gives more weight. Yes, you are definitely right. But then they are thinking about the manner in which English changes. There are certain words that over time have changed so much. So when you bring in the idea that blessed are they that wash, you're applying sanctification.
There are other places in Revelation that emphasize the doing of God's commandments, but there the King James is following a textual variant that's represented by the Byzantine text tradition. Here we have, again, blessed are those who wash their garments, henna, so that, expressing purpose, we're expecting the subjunctive. Well, we have it here with a lengthened variable vowel, but the first verb in that following clause is actually a future. All right, that's just a future middle indicative, third person singular of a me. And we've seen this several times in Revelation where...
So there's purpose here on the Eve, what looks like Eve, are there? There's a purpose, and then the purpose is the future thingy. Now you get... Okay.
Where we expect the subjunctive, but instead we have the future. Well, here we have a subjunctive and a future. So, blessed are those who wash their garments, so that their right will be, right, so that these people whose garments are washed, their right, the privilege or the right will be, their right will be unto the tree of life.
Notice how he then reads that. He goes here, here, here. So as you read, because these languages are very complex, it doesn't just read straight. There is a lot of work. Did you notice how it's not gymnastics? No, the languages are just different. And you can see, I'll leave this video down in the comment below, but this is where you will start to understand there's a lot of weight. If you just skew Christians to, this is why Pastor Motwa makes a very big mistake, because he's against scholarship. Like there's a part here where he starts attacking theologians and what. We need to allow Christians to be educated. Now we need to also be careful. Okay? Like for instance, if you're out there reading the Net Bible, of course, be very clear that there are some things that read about it online. Watch videos about it and they will tell you, no, these guys here, they tend to have this theological position. So be careful here, right? And so we know to do that. So that's why we have a primary Bible, and then we have this to help us as we move along. But you will notice here, even when you go to one of the translators who was involved with this, Dr. Dan Wallace, listen to when he was reading, when he was going to showing one of the books that they actually use in helping them translate.
Awesome. The ECM is what we typically call it. This has been in production for many years, and it just came out weeks ago.
Will you, I'm going to switch these. Will you show them what they're looking at?
This is all the manuscripts are listed with all the readings that they have, all the wording that they have, all the Greek manuscripts through AD 1000 for just Revelation 1:4. And you get the text above this, then this line is giving you different readings that differ from the text, and then they've got the G and the AR and numbers and things like this. These are all different manuscripts. The little letters in italics are different wordings. So in Revelation 1:4, John to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace to you and peace from the one who is and who was and who is coming. What's interesting about this is when you get to the one who is, Numbers 28 and 30, there's going to be variance, because this word apa is the word from. APO is how you spell it. And you have haon. Apa is a preposition that requires the genitive. Haon is in the nominative case. It's terrible Greek if John was just doing it sloppily. But over 40 times, I believe, through the rest of Revelation, he gives the proper case after apa. He knows Greek. The problem is he's doing something here that it looks awful, but it's intentional. He's saying from, quote, he who is. The Net Bible, of which I was the senior New Testament editor, puts he who is in quotes.
Okay, I'm sorry for interrupting because he's totally on a roll, but I did want to share with you the Net Bible. He oversaw all of the New Testament translation of the Net Bible. It's like a 20-year-old translation. It's been in the works. It's revolutionized the world of study Bibles because it is full notes. So this is the scripture here, and all of this is translation notes. It's like you have a translator in your footnotes telling you what the issues are, the decisions they made, other decisions other people make, etc. Is an iconic, really cool, like revolutionary for the world of biblical studies.
What he's doing right here is signaling to his readers, you can unlock this by reading the Old Testament. Now, these readers were Greek or Gentiles, and they would know the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Old Testament. And they would say, well, from he who is, that sounds very familiar. And what would be almost the equivalent to John 3:16 to us today would be Exodus 3:14 to them, where God says, I am who I am. And in the Septuagint, it says, ego, eimi, ha-on, the ha-on here, that we have here. I am who I am. Let me give an English illustration that would put this all in perspective. If I said to you, do you believe in us, the people? You'd say, what are you talking about? But if I said, do you believe in we, the people? Now you know I'm quoting the preamble to the Constitution. And I'm putting it in quotes, obviously. There were no quotation marks in Greek at the time. So John is signaling to them what looks crazy to his jailers, because he was in prison on the island of Patmos. Now his readers are going to begin to understand. And immediately he gets into verse 5, and he says, and from Jesus Christ, and then he puts nominative in it. Again, it's a quotation from Psalm 89 in the exact form that's in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, Septuagint. So with this grammar, there's about 300 grammatical anomalies in Revelation. Most of them are signaling to the reader, you can find what I'm talking about by reading the Greek Old Testament.
So basically what's happened, I'll leave this video as well in the comment section. So we have to educate ourselves, okay? This era of just picking up a Bible and that's that. We're done with that. We are in the internet age. Information is very much out there. You have no excuse. So here you see that there are renditions that come in, now bear in mind that book, it's meant only to forecast all the manuscripts and how different are they. And Dr. Dan Wallace has a video talking about the variations in the Bible. And it's like, it's not even that big of a deal. It's just how in spelling it differs. And remember, they were writing this thing by hand. It's not like now where we are copying and pasting. And so when we come to this subject, yes, there are Bibles to be careful over. There are certain verse texts that are written a certain way in certain thing. Yes, let's be careful about that. But to say certain Bibles are demonic, only read this one, we can mislead people. The interlinear Bible on Scriptures for All. You see this thing here called Scriptures for All? Right here, it is the Greek, and here it is the Hebrew. You can do that with every one of them. You just come here, you click. It will ask you to download. You download. There it is. Open. Boom. There you have the Greek. You can go back and match it up. The same way you saw me doing with the other one. Okay? So let's educate each other about it so that we are equipped, not afraid to read a certain rendition or whatnot, right? And so let's educate each other concerning this particular matter. I talked to Chris. I'm going to go over there. We'll do an episode about it. I'll see, maybe I'll have Nicholas when I go there, because this is a subject that Nicholas also absolutely loves, and let's educate each other. Let's not be afraid. You know, Americans are very extreme on the subject of which version you use, to a point where they literally divide over it. We should come to a point where we realize what is easier to read for an average person. Person has been reading English, modern English. You jump them to King James, it can cause them confusion not to be inspired to read because of the confusion of the New King James, ESV, and then have a secondary Bible. Have your primary and your secondary Bible. But let's understand, if it doesn't change thingy, let's not cause confusion. Y'all tell me your thoughts down in the comment section. Is the Reality Show. The daily commentary videos. Other episodes down today to be down in the pinned comments. Please do give this video a like. It did take a minute. I've shot this video like 4 times now. And every single time it was like 4 minutes. It was like 20 minutes. So I'm glad this one came out proper. Other videos down in the pinned comments.